Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hometown Hawks podcast. I'm your host, Henry Vasquez. As always, I'm joined by Jesse, and Rick.
What
What's
is
going on,
up?
boys?
Hello.
Not
Happy
a whole
Sunday.
lot. Another episode, new reasons.
Right.
So what's going on?
Weekend?
What's that?
How's everybody's weekend?
Oh, it was good. It was good. I know before we started recording, I was just saying that Friday I went and watched Hairball. So if anybody has watched Hairball, you guys know it's a damn good time. Those guys, I don't know how they do it. I was just talking to Jess too, like because he's never heard of Hairball, so I was kind of explaining. I was like, it's just these dudes that do a bunch of cover bands from 80s rock, and they like actually get into like the costumes and like the face paint or whatever. And I don't know how the hell they do it so fast, but like they're spot on and they're really, really good. I was just telling them that they even do like Kiss, like they do like the whole face paint and everything, like all of it. And dude, I swear they're gone for like 5 seconds. They come back and like it's a whole new like outfit and like I said, makeup and all that stuff. And the dudes that they actually do it, like the last one was they did Queen. The guy that was doing being Freddie Mercury, he was like a very spot on Freddie Mercury, and it was awesome. It was a good time, like always.
What'd you do today, Jesso?
This morning, Piper, my oldest daughter, had gymnastics. One back, being sick and being gone for 4 months out of it. She did well. Could have done better, but first one back. She knows what she knows she can do better, so that's what makes it even better. She was disappointed of how she kind of performed today, but it is what it is. She'll get it next time, and I'm looking like I'm hopefully gonna be able to make the playoffs in my fantasy football league. So, all in all, beautiful Sunday. We got Eagles Cowboys. Me and Henry got a $20 bet going on again. I'm up 20 on him so far this year. Hopefully, gonna make it 40 tonight. Let's go, Birds.
So you obviously didn't hear the last podcast.
It was funny.
Hey, they're actually in a shootout right now. They're in the shootout right now with Seattle. So technically, we're still the number one team in the NFL. So we're all right.
Yeah.
Even a dumpster finds a steak every now and again. Okay.
So yeah, back to Rick. He went to that Hairball concert. Actually, I went to it this summer here, and I was actually joined by a good buddy of mine who is actually here to join us on the podcast today. Let's welcome to the stage here, Nick Cole.
What's up,
guys?
Nick?
How's it going?
That's good.
Awesome
It's
to be
good.
on here.
Nick's over here shaking. It's the first time on the podcast here.
Feel like Joe Rogan, man.
Jose
You're
Rogan.
supposed to be, you're supposed to be doing all the extracurricular Joe Rogan to calm down, bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we're
Nick's
actually bigger than Joe Rogan.
all 30 of our fans.
Yeah, never heard of him.
Who is that guy? What's going on, Nick? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. We competed Saturday, and then my daughter wrestled today in a tournament. So my weekend was full of wrestling.
Oh, like
Nice.
you said, like you said, guys, his daughter's wrestling here, so which is kind of like Iowa's getting big into the girl scene with wrestling. And as we speak here, Nick is actually the head coach for the high school women's.
Yeah, so I'm technically I'm technically the head coach for the high school women's program as well as the high school boys program. So I kind of wear both hats there for each program. But my staff, my coaching staff, we divide and conquer on weekends. So a lot of the girls' side of things, I get to the competitions when I can, but a lot of it is sending my assistants with the girls when I go with the boys. So it's been a tough juggle, but we're making it happen.
That's good.
Was
That's
it a tough
awesome.
transition to be coaching from coaching males to females, or is it all the same?
Yeah, I mean, there's some there's some differences for sure. But when it comes to wrestling, I think, wrestling is wrestling. So,
Sure.
they train the same way. They go through the same exact practice as the high school boys. Um, they but they maybe deal with emotions and deal with, certain things differently. Um, but yeah, when the aspect of wrestling and what we teach and how we teach it and the way they train is the exact same as the boys. So they, they were fast learners. So it's easy to have them in the mix in our room to get better. They do exactly everything everybody else does.
That's
That's
cool.
awesome. Uh, I'd like to kind of, I want to dig into that just a little bit deeper. But I kind of want to ask you a question here, Nick, just to kind of get like a background of you. Because I don't really know you, and I'm sure anybody else watching. I don't know if everybody knows you or not, but I guess just to ask you, what is your background for like wrestling, for coaching, even, and kind of what got you like in the path of wanting to be a coach, or was it kind of like like my kids, my kid only wants to play a sport if I coach, so I'm kind of like forced into coaching. So was it kind of like that, or I guess what got you into it?
uh, so I've been wrestling my entire life. I started wrestling when I was 4. I had my parents and my uncle kind of got me into the sport, and so just kind of, I all the way up through the youth program and through junior high, through high school. I went to I was, born and raised here in Riverside. Went to Highland, graduated from Highland. Was fortunate enough to have some success in high school. I won a state championship and ended up going to Cedar Rapids actually and wrestled for Co College for
Oh,
Coach John Ostendorf up at Co. Um, Graduated there in 2005, and I came back to Highland, started coaching right away as an assistant coach, and was there for I coached there for 4 or 5 years, and then I actually went back to Cedar Rapids and joined the coaching staff at Co College and was there for another 5 or 6 years, and then um, my son was born, um, and I had couple of years off there, and then once he was old enough to get on the mat, I got back into the Highland room and kind of started our youth program back up and was coaching our youth program for quite a few years, and then let's see, probably 7 years ago, we got a new head coach at Highland, and I was asked to join the staff on his staff, and I was an assistant for 4 years, and then now the last 3 years, I've been the head coach of the program. So,
that's
um,
awesome. That's awesome.
it seems like a traditional path, and things, maybe seem seamless, but it wasn't. Being a head coach for me wasn't something that I really had on my radar at 40 years old. But here we are. I love it. I love the kids, and it's my passion, and um, the biggest thing for me is just, watching these kids leave our program, as accountable, hardworking kids, so that's the
That's
best
awesome.
part for me.
Sure, sure. I'm sure that's a very satisfying part of being a coach, is watching these kids grow up and being putting forth all that work into just their lives, not just into wrestling, right? Kind of putting the same amount of hard work into just regular everyday life and carrying that through every day. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our emphasis, like I said, our emphasis in our practice room is rarely focused on winning and losing. It's focused on doing the things right, doing the things you're told, following the process, being accountable, getting your homework done, treating your teachers, your parents the right way, just living the life, that champions live, I guess.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That's way cool. Um, Now, I guess being taking on the role of head coach, is there something that you feel has been like what's the biggest challenge or obstacle that you have found as being head coach?
There's definitely a lot of daily seasonal challenges. You know, the the administration part of being a head coach, people don't
Yeah.
maybe see that you don't just show up and get a coach wrestling. You got to actually manage your team, and you got to manage a budget, and you got to manage a schedule, and you got to manage your guys, and um, you bus times and transportation, and how you get to the tournament. There's a lot that goes on. Then with the state, some of the state regulations, you got to make sure you're following each kid's weight descent plan, as far as how much weight they can lose a week, and hydration, and all that. So there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
But personally for me, it's some of the challenges are that, I'm when it comes to wrestling, and me being, this is all what I've done my whole life, right? And it's a challenge for me to um, understand, I guess, that not every kid is going to be wired like me, as far as all they think about is wrestling. And I don't I the challenge of getting to know the kid and building a relationship with the kid, to understand that things at home may be different, things at school may be different, things, they just each kid brings a different set of um characteristics, I guess, to your team, that you got to manage. So each kid is managed a little bit differently, and treated, not necessarily treated differently, but
Tailored to
you
them a little
definitely
bit different. Yeah.
you tailor your words, and you tailor your approach to them, each individually. So that is definitely a challenge, getting to understand what makes each kid tick, and what
Yeah.
motivates them. And so that for me is probably the most challenging, because it's the most important,
Yeah.
right? The admin stuff, yeah, it'll get done. But at the end of the day, to put a good product out on the mat, and do the things and lead your program the way you want it led, you got to understand each kid, and know that each kid is different.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I-
Hearing
Sorry.
all the
Go
stuff
ahead.
that you do you sleep?
Man, once wrestling season hits, not much. That biological clock hits about 2:30, and I'm up, and my mind's racing, and
No, man.
trying to just a lot going through my head, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of it's self-inflicted. Um, but there's always, I manage a job outside of a coaching job too. So um,
And a family.
there's
So
there's
yeah,
this
that's
in a
awesome.
family, yeah. So it's busy, but you know what? I signed up for it, and I'm not the only coach in the country that lives a busy lifestyle, right? I
Right.
know, I know what the expectations are, and I know where I want our program to be. So I'm going to invest the energy and the time, and the resources to do it the right way.
That's
And what?
fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's another reason I guess I reached out to you guys to see if we wanted to have him on, because there's a big hype around Highland wrestling here coming up. Um, the ball started rolling here. What would you say, Nick?
Man, it was probably that group. Um, Man, 7, 8 years
Yeah.
ago, I suppose.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long
Yeah.
ago, but it probably has been.
So yeah, so there's a lot of hype coming up on these new boys coming in. We're gonna have a pretty big team. Hopefully fill all the weights. For once in a while, it's been a while since we've actually had a team that fills a full team.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's a lot of hype with the junior high team, which Coach Rocky's doing a great job. I'd like to reach out to him and get him on here eventually. But it's just you're probably one of the guys that brought him in, right? Reaching out,
Yeah.
talking, bringing people into. It just starts from the bottom up, even with the Husky Wrestling
Man,
Club.
I'll tell you what, the most important part of your wrestling program is your youth program. Um, when you get kids to buy in, make them feel welcome, um, hold them accountable, push them a little bit, teach them new skills, and then the parents buy in, and you get cool swag, the gear and all that stuff.
Mhm.
All that stuff makes a big difference. And And I think when I started taking over the youth program, I think we maybe had like 15 kids or something like that. And then that club grew to, I think maybe in our second or third year, that club was like, our club was about 75 kids. Um,
Dang.
and now we're consistently 60 to 65 kids every year. So
That's
you
awesome.
got to have and especially in a small community like we're in, that's a really strong number. And if you bring those kids up through the program, for the next however many years, you definitely have more options when they get to the high school level. And but yeah, to Henry's point, we have a group of junior high kids right now that are um, I don't know what word to use, but they're going to be exciting. They're going to be fun. They've been fun, and they've been well coached. Whether they've been in our club, in our junior high program, some of them have wrestled outside the club in other clubs, but they've got a lot of mat time, and there is some hype, and we just my job is to make sure we live up to that hype and keep these kids out and competing hard. So, man, what we've seen, and again, to Henry's point, we got a coaching staff that is got some credentials and has a lot of coaching experience. So, our junior high coach is uh, Rocky Hamilton. Actually, was one of my college roommates and teammates at Co. And who spent years, I don't know, he was maybe 10 years as the head coach at Wapello High School. So to have somebody, in your back pocket that has the experience like he's got is very, very valuable. Um, One of my volunteer assistants was actually the head coach at Wapello as well when Rocky left. So Jack Walker, he lives in Riverside. He was a state runner-up, a couple times state medalist. So tons of experience.
Yeah.
Dylan Stewart is my head assistant coach. Wrestled for Columbus Junction in a really storied, legendary program under Coach Bill Pleen and John Siegel. So he brings a lot of maybe not the accolades, but he brings a lot of wrestling knowledge, and he's great at building relationships with the kids, and they love him. So, and then I got TJ Schott, who was a state medalist for Iowa City Regina, great workout partner, brings a lot of great tools to our program too. So, if I didn't have this coaching staff that I have, we'd be, I don't think we'd be where we're at right now, but I can't thank those guys enough.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you got a lot of guys to lean on for, for really anything. And you can't find that kind of experience or, even just friendship really anywhere. So that's awesome that, you guys roll that deep, and
Yeah.
that's
Well,
pretty cool.
and then you add, you got some of the dad coaches on top of that too, right? So we have um, a lot of dads with kids in our programs that have also competed at a high level and
Oh,
and
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
won state medals. And so it's a wrestling rich community here. And it's kind of it's what our community's not necessarily based on. But man, when people think of Highland Riverside, they're most of the time they're thinking Highland wrestling. So it's a wrestling rich school, and I got to keep that tradition and those legacies alive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So as you speak, tradition and legacy, give us a little background on your family. I mean, your dad was a wrestler. Your whole family, the whole Cole clan came, from
Yeah.
a wrestling crew. That's
Yeah,
where
so
you get your roots from.
that's how I came up through the sport, right? Is based on my family. My dad was a couple time 3-time state qualifier, 2-time state place winner. He got third and fifth. My uncle Robert was a 2-time state runner up. Um, Actually lost the state championship. I can't remember what year it was, but he separated his shoulder in the state semifinals, and they had to like tape his shoulder. They had to tape his arm to his body, and he went out and wrestled. Most kids they just forfeit the state tournament,
That's crazy.
They taped his arm to his side, and he wrestled the state championship match with one arm against a guy that was, I think, ended up being a 3-time state champ from Lisbon. But so my Uncle Robert, my Uncle Ricky was Highlands' first ever state champion, 98 pounds. And then I had a couple other uncles wrestle, and then I think I was the first grandchild from my grandparents. I was the first grandchild to come up through the youth program, and then my cousin Kendall. Some of you guys obviously know Kendall. Kendall was a bad son. He was a bad dude. He was a state runner-up his senior year. He battled some injuries and stuff, but he was a 3-time qualifier and state runner-up. Made the state finals, and then my cousin Travis. My cousin Travis is a badass too. He's actually he's a career wins leader at Highland. He's like 189-12 or something like that. I mean, just an insane
Jeez.
record. And he was tougher than shit. He was a 4-time state place winner and made the finals, state finals his senior year. And man, who else? My brother was good. My brother was, a very quality wrestler. Just things didn't go his way, and he still had a really good career. But and then on the other side, on my mom's side, I had a cousin, one of my cousins, Jordan Westfall. He's a 4-time state place winner and was the career wins leader. Highland was like 170 something and 10 or something, 170 something and 12. I don't know, but yeah, he's a badass too, a national finalist at College from Division III. So yeah, there's a legacy, one of many legacy names, at Highland. You got the Sweetings, you got who else did I was thinking about today? I was out there, the Beckers, right? The Becker family is another huge legacy family. The Hahns are a legacy family. There's just like, it's wrestling rich, at Highland, and it's right. Just like, I feel it's an obligation, right, to let those names and those career records and those accolades, and man, you got to keep the name of Highland Wrestling alive just for those people that dedicated their time into the sport.
Good stuff there, boys.
So that is a lot of family history there,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
There's one thing I want to say. I know you said you wrestled at and I think you used to wrestle with one of my coworkers, Mercer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So Niles was he was actually younger than me.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I'm texting him right now, and I told him that I was going to tell you that he said he can pin you right now.
He probably could.
No.
He probably could. No,
He
Niles
just
was
laughed.
bad.
He just laughed.
He's a bad dude. Niles was a bad dude. He's a great guy too. Great
He
guy.
is. He
So
is.
I actually wrestled. So I more wrestled. I wasn't teammates with his brother, but Nigel was my age. So him and I were in the
Okay.
same class when he was at Van Buren.
Got it.
Niles was a few years younger than me, and so I was already done at when he was coming in.
Oh,
But
really?
he was he was a badass and a great guy.
He still is. And Niles, if you're watching this, I will deny that every day. But anyways, yeah, sorry, I just had to touch on that because I know you said you were you graduated in 2005, and I was like, he probably
So
wrestled
I
with him.
actually graduated. I was supposed to graduate in 2004. I don't want to tell a lot of people that. I had to go an extra semester.
That's all right. It
Yeah,
got done.
who cares? Yeah.
Right.
Some people went like 4 years at Kirkwood. So
5-year plan. So I was on the 5-year plan.
Hey, kids these days are in college for like 7 years, still participating. You're all right,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
For sure. For sure.
yeah. Some people were super seniors at Kirkwood, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, that's all great. I did want to touch on something that you said a little bit before we got into this last question, and that was about the kids program and all that stuff. So I have 2 girls. I have a 3 and a 6-year-old. My 3-year-old is a little firecracker. She's I think everything that you'd want in someone that would want to wrestle. Or maybe, I guess. I don't know. My 6-year-old's a little delicate flower.
Yeah.
But she likes to wrestle with little sister every now and then. So my question is, what would you give someone advice, or what kind of advice would you give someone that's looking to get their kid into wrestling, right? Because some people are kind of intimidated about it. Like, I don't want them to get cauliflower ear, or I don't want them to get hurt. And, this is a really aggressive sport. What's something that I guess you would tell people if they were looking at something like that?
So my philosophy on that's changed a little bit over the years, and then if I could go back and do it again, with my own kids, I probably would do, I would do things different. I think we get so caught up in the, and there's probably multiple things, but we get caught up in like, I want my kid to wrestle because it's cute, and then I'm going to throw him out in a tournament where he or she has absolutely no clue what's going on. Um, you know, hasn't maybe been through the proper skills and training and whatever. Um, I think the shift among maybe the national, like some of the bigger names in the sport on their recommendations, and I listen and follow those guys all the time. But I think it's important that a kid develops body awareness, athleticism, tumbling skills, gymnastics skills. Um, I think those things are the basis and the building blocks of the sport. And if they can, if they can come in and they can, touch their toes, they can do a forward roll, they can do a backwards roll, backwards somersault. If they can do a cartwheel, they can do, um, various movements. Then I think you progress to the next level. And there's clubs all over, and I think each youth program's getting a little smarter about how they develop their kids, and
Mhm.
and they're doing it the right way. So there's beginner levels, and then there's intermediate levels, and then there's advanced levels of every club, and you kind of advance through them levels of the program. And we're doing something very similar to that here in Riverside, but it's not just throw your kid into the sport and because let's face it, it's one-on-one combat, right?
Mhm.
It's one-on-one in a gym full of loud screaming people. There's competition anxiety, there's fear, there's nervousness, there's all these things that kids have to learn to manage throughout a day, and it's a lot. There's a lot of stimulus there with those kids, and um, it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard sport. It's a hard sport to coach, and it's a
Mhm.
hard sport um, to manage emotionally. So until you kind of let the kids steer the car, I guess, or steer the ship as far as, hey, I want to try a tournament, or hey, I want to go to this practice, or whatever. I just don't think you can just shove a kid into the sport and expect to have success.
Sure. Sure, that makes sense.
For sure.
Now, another part to that question. Sorry, guys, I'm not trying to take up
You're, you're good. You're good.
all the questions and everything, but do you think there is a too young of an age to start a kid?
Um, I don't think there's too young of an age to start building basic skills and foundations, right? If
Sure.
you've
Yeah, if
got
you're
a
doing it the
two,
correct way, yeah. I guess if you're
yeah,
doing it the
man,
correct
if
way.
I think you start building skills as soon as a kid starts walking, right? They can do somersaults, or hang from a bar, a big one hanging from a like
Yeah.
hang from a pull-up bar. Not necessarily doing pull-ups, but hanging from a bar. Um, but as far as throwing a kid into a somewhat intense training environment, man, like in our club, I think we start at like 5. I think
Mhm.
5-year-olds
Yep.
are, so, that um, kindergarten age is probably where, we would, because parents are, and like if I were to do it, and some people will even say that they wouldn't start let kids actually compete and wrestle till 5th grade. Well, you ain't fending parents off till 5th grade to see their kid compete.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for
uh,
sure.
so we let we start in kindergarten and we work on the basic tumbling skills and your wrestling. If anybody's ever wrestled, right? If you have to be in a wrestling stance for a period of time, that's hard in itself, right? So we just focus on the very, very basic things on a penetration step, on how we get to a leg, um, our stance, how we move our feet, how we shuffle, um, how we know the body awareness to where I know I can't go to my back, right? So going from your back to your feet, or your back to your stomach, or
Mhm.
your stomach to your feet, things that like that without even a partner on top of you. So those are the skills that we really work on and focus on. And um, if you don't put such a focus on the competition and the winning and losing, you take the positives away from every match that the kid wrestles and what they do right, and you focus and not yell and dwell on the things they did wrong. You gotta kind of point out the things they did right too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and
Okay.
to piggyback on what you said on the gymnastics thing, I've actually seen it firsthand. My daughter has been doing gymnastics since she was 3 and competes. And she competed today. And, so we put Jeter, my youngest son, in and started. He goes to the gym a lot and stuff like that. So we got to we kind of just let him play around like the bar and stuff. He went from barely being able to hold do a hang, and he actually did a dead hang from the bar at 1.5 years old for a minute, and can do a toe touch, and it's pretty cool to see. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna take advantage of this whole gymnastics thing, because like you said, not only will it help for wrestling, it can help for every sport that anybody plays. So
100%.
that was pretty cool that you touched base on that,
Yeah.
because that's for sure. Jeter's gonna do it until until he says I'm cool with that and like doing it, but at least he's gonna have that basic fundamentals. He can do a forward somersault at 1.5. He'll pee and poop himself for a long time, but he can definitely hang from a bar longer than I can. So
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
son.
No,
Yeah,
it is a legit important part of the process, in my opinion. You maybe would get some people that would disagree with that, but if I think back and look at, I followed Doug Schwab. He's the UNI wrestling coach. He's got 2 boys that are um, phenomenal. They didn't compete and they didn't even wrestle a match until they had what they called basement battles with each other. Um, but they did gymnastics for like 6 or 7 years. Like they were doing backflips and the round off backflips or whatever the moves are, the aerial moves are
Mhm.
called. But they were doing that stuff before they stepped on a wrestling mat. And now, they started in like 5th grade or 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. And now the one's a freshman, ranked number 1 in the state at 106 pounds, and he's a freak athlete. And the little brother's a freak athlete. And it's all, in my opinion, I mean, there's probably some genetic, there's some genetics there that maybe we don't all have, but when it comes to athleticism, those kids just knew their body so well at a young age because of gymnastics and the tumbling they did.
Mhm. I think my daughter can do backflips, but because of me. But that's all what it is.
Yeah.
What it is. My
Yeah.
genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Jeter
The best.
got your wife's strengths for sure.
I've seen Piper's
Thanks,
some of
guys.
your videos you post, man. She's a stud. She does
It's
good.
incredible, man. And like you said, like it's just the awareness, of like just being able to. It's the time, like you said, the timing, everything involved with gymnastics helps with everything that she does. It's fucking cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. I wish, man, we did, coming up through the sport when I was, in the mid '80s, early '80s, man. You didn't have club gymnastics. You didn't have club wrestling. So it's just get thrown to the wolves and figure it out.
Yeah, that's like they always say. It's like you'd go to a wrestling tournament, right? If that kid had wrestling shoes,
Yeah, he
he
was
was
tough.
good.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you wrestle in your socks, right?
Yep. Yep. Didn't have if you kid had a singlet or a USA singlet and a pair of wrestling shoes, yeah, he was probably gonna kick your ass.
So which leads,
I
yeah, so
don't
which
know.
leads me to my
But
next topic.
nowadays,
You know, with the
I'd be more afraid of the kid with nothing on right now. I'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
so yeah, next topic here. I just kind of want to touch on club wrestling. You know, a lot of these kids, they come to our club here, and then you see them like say they reach out and say, hey, I want to come wrestle here for a little bit. Do you like that? It's good, right?
Yes.
Just a different.
When I first started this and started coaching and at the youth level, and there's probably a lot of people that would remember my conversations, but man, I didn't want I didn't want our club kids going to other clubs. I wanted homegrown Highland wrestling. You wear Highland wrestling singlets. You represent your program, you represent your team. And then as I got, a little farther down the line, it was, that was pretty stupid of me to not promote kids going to other clubs, getting another perspective of the sport, different training partners, different coaching. Um, yeah, so now, while I still want kids representing our program in Highland Wrestling, I push them to go to other clubs to see see other training partners, see other coaches. Uh, that to me is you'd be a fool not to utilize those resources, especially me as a head coach, right? I want them getting as much mat time as they possibly can.
Right.
And we have,
right.
we have some great clubs. The club scene here around Iowa City is really great, and we've got a lot of options to get better as a program. So whether you're in Iowa City or right here in Riverside or North Liberty or Cedar Rapids or um, there's a club Mount Pleasant. There's options of great clubs and great workout partners everywhere.
Got anything, Rick?
Really good.
You
What's
look
that?
like you wanted to ask a question.
Well, I'm looking at my list here that I made
Yeah.
using nothing but good office equipment here, right? Nothing but the best blue Crayola marker.
Nice.
Stealing my kids' stuff around here on the desk. I gotta adapt to this. Um, no, really, it's all really really good information. Especially for anyone that's like looking to start their kid off in wrestling. I think they could probably rest assured knowing that whatever club they choose, that the coaches there, or whatever school they choose, the coaches there have their best interest, as far as like not just from listening to you at least, Nick. I'd like to believe that everybody is like you are, where they're very invested in not only the kids but the program also, and the kids are first. Teaching them those life skills, and it's just that's just awesome to me, because I feel you want that person in your kid's life. You want them to hear what what just parents are trying to preach to their kids day in and day out, but coming from another person, right? They're their coach, right? The person that's teaching them everything that they know about a sport that they love to do, or a new sport, and helping them along the way. That's very very big for any parent, and it's great hearing that come from you, because this is the first time I've met you, and that's just it's really good to me. And
Yeah.
like I said, and I'm hoping that um every club is like that. And I'm pretty sure most of them are. The people that, like I said, that are the heads of those programs or schools or whatever, um the kids are first and foremost. The sport is second. The sport is just something that they get to do with that kid,
Yeah.
besides
Yeah.
knowing them. So
The sport is just that, right?
right,
At some point, you don't play sports anymore. At some
exactly.
point in your life, you don't get to play sports. So, hopefully we all get to play and be a kid as long as we can. But at the end of the day, you don't get to play sports forever. So, you got to take the lessons that you learn outside of that sport to use the rest of your life and throughout your life. So,
Yeah.
you know, the day that I start coaching for myself is the day I need to stop, because, you know, that's not fair. So, I've never done this outside of any reason but for the kids, you know. And I'm super highly competitive. I'm passionate about my school. I'm passionate about Highland wrestling. I'm passionate about Highland athletics. And so I'll go to the hubs of hell to you know, give our kids the best options possible.
For
And
sure.
that's coaching, that's facilities, that's um, uniforms, that's transport, whatever it is. Man, I love these kids all the same, and you know, I've got my own in the program. So, you know, I think Henry can probably vouch, man. It's like I have a deep love for these kids, because what they, you know, what they give me in a practice room, I owe them back in um, whatever it is in their life, right? So, um, you know, I put them through some hell, you know, on certain
Yeah.
days, and I test their limits, and I test their patience, and I test their mentalities, and you know, so they give me all those things. There's a lot that I owe them in return.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Awesome.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. Anybody else have any other questions?
Well, I'm
You
sure
really
there's plenty
don't.
more. Go
What's
You
ahead.
that?
really don't sleep, do you? So all this stuff that you keep talking about, like, damn, like all the things that go through your mind and all this stuff for these kids is it's amazing, man. So I applaud you.
Yeah.
That's great. Like I've coached against you even for baseball, you know, for
Yep.
youth baseball, and it's cool to have like not always, even if I didn't know you, it would have been cool coaching against you, just because like you can tell how other coaches are with other, like with their teams specifically and stuff. So like again, I applaud you. It's awesome to hear all this stuff
Yeah.
that you're doing
Yeah.
for I mean, we all went to Highland except Ricky because he's a dork, but you know, it's awesome to see that like even when we're gone from Highland, is like it's people still putting in a lot of like stuff for the school that you went to. You know, it's awesome to see.
Yeah. 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 And the other thing too is, like, not a lot of people wrestle, right? The sport's not huge. So if every kid you drive away, or every kid that leaves the sport, or every program that doesn't, you know, can't sustain because they've got a coach doing it for the wrong reason or whatever, that's, you know, that affects our sport in the long run. So we got to promote it in the right way, and keep the sport alive.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So I think, you know, this perspective of these parents sometimes bringing in their kids, you know, they're not all going to be state champs. All right.
No, not at
No,
all.
not at all. Right. So wrestling builds character. Um, I'm going to give you an example here. Carlos.
Yeah.
Carlos Valenzuela never wrestled a match in his life up until he got into high school. Right.
Yeah, his freshman year he started wrestling.
Started wrestling freshman year. By the time he left Highland, two-time qualifier.
Yeah,
state.
two-time state qualifier, made the state semifinals last year at 132 pounds. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day about him, actually, and it was the Columbus Junction coach. He was asking me some questions, and I still can't believe that a kid that started wrestling as a freshman in high school made the state semifinals. You know, he's the top 4 guy as a senior in high school 3 years later. Like, I worked my entire life to make the state semifinals, you know,
Right.
and he did it in 3 short years. And that just says, you know, again, it says a lot about Carlos and what he set out to do as a wrestler, right? And coming in to the sport, I knew he was going to be good the first day he came to practice, because I seen how athletic he was. Like, the dude was freakishly athletic, and he had no clue what he was doing. And I would even go out on a limb and say his senior year of wrestling, he still didn't really have a clue what he was doing. I mean, there was things that he did well, and he just stuck to those things he did really well. But if you challenged him in a different way, in a different move, he couldn't do it. But then I see him on a skateboard, and I'm like, well, no shit. No wonder why he's so good. Like, the dude's a freak on a skateboard. So, like, that athleticism type stuff just translates.
Well, that speaks a
Yeah.
lot about your coaching staff too, Nick. I mean, being able to know how to get to him, and you know, I guess talk his language, in order, in the sense of athleticism, to get him to do the things that you guys want to do, and get him to do those things. Which is so.
Yeah.
I applaud you guys for that too. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the favorite kids I've ever coached, for sure. And now he's wrestling in a college program. So
Nice.
That's nuts.
that
That's
it
That's nuts.
man, it's nuts. It's the only way to put it. It's nuts. I mean, he's wrestling at the next level and he still loves the sport. So that's the other
That's
good
good.
thing is, like, man, I started at 4 years old. I went through
Hey, Henry muted you.
Go ahead, Nick.
No.
Oh no. Oh no, Henry muted you for some reason. Yeah, hit the little microphone button.
There we go.
There we go.
I think he's out yelling at his dog.
I think so.
Dog's barking.
All right, continue
But-
as you were.
But yeah, I don't know where I left off there, but yeah, Carlos wrestling in a college program is, man, it's so cool, and it's we're putting the right kid in a program to represent our program, our high school program too, the right way. So, I hope he finds a lot of success and he gets a degree and he gets out in the workforce and does great things. So,
Yeah.
I love that kid, man. He was one of my favorites.
It's cool to
That's
see though, like you said, he was just naturally athletic, but not only did he was able to show his like actual hard work he put into it, and not just like depend on his athleticism. So like how do you put a kid in that mindset, like how do you get him to like you say you put them through hell at practice, like how do you get them to just push themselves, like what's like how do you do that as a coach to like just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and not stop, because that's just something about a wrestler, man. It's like it's a different mentality than a lot of any other sport that you have to do. Like I personally, I've never wrestled, but I love the sport. I watch it, and I've seen what my friends have had to do, and everybody, like I watch MMA and stuff like that. I follow a lot of these like that were wrestlers too, and they just have this motor, man. Like how do you just
Yep.
keep these kids just going?
It's a lot of
Would you say it's
verbal encouragement. We play a little bit of mind games with them. There's some, we mess with their heads a little bit. And it all comes down to just getting them to trust you that what you're doing is the right thing, and that, that you got to get out of your comfort zone, right? If you stay in your comfort zone, growing as a person or growing as a wrestler doesn't happen, right? So you got to get out of your comfort zone when you're dog ass tired, and you got to get one more takedown. We're in your face saying you got to get one more takedown. You got to get one more takedown, and it's in the room. If we're running sprints, and it's all right, last one. If you go hard, last one, and they bust their ass and they sprint as hard as they possibly can for that last one, well, guess what? We're
Hey, the
going
last
one
one.
more. We're
Yeah.
going one more. And then it's like, then body language changes. And then you talk about body language and you talk about, hey, you got to have a poker face, man. You can't let your opponent see that we're tired or that we're mentally frustrated or, whatever. So it's one more. All right. And then, all right, we do one more. And it's like, all right, back with your partner, first 1 to 5 takedowns when they're crawling to their circle in the room to wrestle their partner, and they don't think they can do it. That's how you kind of callous the mind, I guess. And in our approach or in my approach or the way I was trained, there's obviously a lot of we tear them down, we build them back up. At certain points of the season, there's certain training phases. There's days where we may train hard one day, and the next day they just it's a light practice. They drill, they get their body feeling good. So there's a give and take, right? We don't just run them to the ground every single day. It's they know the days that they got to train, and the expectation is that they train, and and the expectation that they train isn't for us, it's for them, right? And they have to understand that, hey, we're doing what we're doing for a reason. It's not punishment, right? We're not punishing you because we maybe didn't win a match on a Thursday night, or Saturday maybe didn't go our way. I'm not bringing you in on Monday morning to run hall sprints as punishment, right? It's
Mhm.
understanding that I'm bringing you in because we got to get better and we got to be ready for the next competition. So, you know, again, every kid's different. You know, you might bring them in after the practice and you set them down on a one-on-one conversation and they open up to you. Um, but yeah, it's tough. But you know, you motivate them all you motivate them all differently, but as a team, you motivate them all the same.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's great.
That is awesome.
Well, we've been running close to an hour here. What do you think? Should we wrap this up? I'm
No,
sure
no,
Nick probably has stuff to do.
no,
Um,
hey, I love the conversation, man. This stuff challenges my thinking too, right? And it helps
Yeah.
me be a better coach because you know what I maybe think goes through my mind is the right thing, and then I actually get asked the question, and it's like, damn, is that really, you know, is this really what I do or
Yeah.
how I feel
Right.
or
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
the right thing, you know? So, um, you know, to just be a student of the sport,
Yeah.
of any
Absolutely.
sport,
No,
of any
no,
sport.
I could sit here all day and ask you questions about, how to coach, or what some advice is and all that stuff because I'm mentally getting ready to coach um some 7U softball here starting in January. So that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be my first year doing that and just finding out all the logistical stuff I have to do in the back on the back end of things.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge. And I did coming
Yeah.
from rec league where it's just like, hey, you show up and all the stuff's in the shed, let's go play. But
Yeah.
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 Even for youth sports, I was I got like I said, I coached against Nick in baseball and stuff like that, but I was never the head coach. So I'm glad I never had to do like the head coach
Same.
shit.
yeah,
For
So
I still don't
baseball,
that,
know
man.
how.
but
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
For
for
still don't
baseball,
know
baseball,
man, because
there's a lot in
there's a lot to
baseball.
go for that.
I just coached baseball, right? I didn't have to do any of that other stuff. And I just stood on first base and yelled.
Yeah, it's rewarding. It's really rewarding, Rick. Like it's the stuff that you finally see like
Oh,
gets put into
Yeah.
play. It's like,
yeah,
oh
and
man,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like Nick has been coaching long enough to where I can be like, I'm sure he has plenty of examples of stuff that I'd ask him. Like I said, we could be here for another friggin' hour and a
Yeah.
half, just asking him questions. But does anybody else have any questions? I
Yeah,
guess
one
that they
more.
want to.
So you, Nick, you said you said right wrestling all the way through up until your senior year of high school is when you got your state champion. Like, what was that feeling when you finally just got that dub at the state finals? You were the guy, number one. What was that feeling? I know it was only a couple years ago, maybe not. Should be fresh right on the mind, So
Yeah.
'cause that's the pinnacle of the sport right there. Like you work your whole life for that moment. I mean, at least for
At
your
at that
for high
time,
school,
yeah, right? At that time, that was my goal, man. My heroes ahead of me, or that I considered my heroes of Highland wrestling, they did it. So my goal was that, right? I wanted to be like those guys. I wanted to be like my Uncle Ricky, and I wanted to be like Danny Sweeting, and I wanted to be like Aaron Robertson and Tony Sweeting, right? I wanted to be those guys, and I wanted my name on that wall. And I invested a lot of time um, into the sport to get better, and I took my ass beatings from a lot of guys to get where I was. So you know, I don't really like, you know, it's not comfortable for me to talk about, but I did invest the time, and I did invest you know, a lot of sacrifices to get to where I was, and the feeling, you know, if I try to think back and you know, I there's certain things I remember and there's certain things that kind of a blur and, you know, I've never really, you know, I've watched the tape a couple times and stuff, but I've never really watched my match that much. Um, but man, I just remember feeling like I did it, you know, like
Mhm.
this, you know, I didn't have some like crazy big freak out celebration. It was more of like, man, I just took a deep breath. I was like, man, I did it. I'm here. Like I was able to win a state championship in Veterans Auditorium in Des Moines, Iowa, you know, alongside of you know, maybe some people that didn't think I could do it and some people that, you know, I was a fluke or whatever. And maybe I wrestled that tournament 10 times and I only win it once. Right. But I was on a roll that week and I felt good about myself and my diet was in check and I invested a lot of hours training and bike work and all that stuff. So, did I deserve it? Maybe in my mind I did. Some people might not agree, but at the end of the day, I'm the one that got my hand raised and I put in the time. So, um, it is not easy to win a state championship. I can tell you that, and I think it's harder as a coach. There's only at that time there was what, I don't even know how many weights there were. 12 weights, I think. Right? There's in class 1A, there's only 12 state champions. Right? This year, now there's 14 weights. In class 1A, there's only 14 state champions out of how many 2,000, however many kids that wrestle in the state of Iowa.
Right.
There is 14 state champions in class 1A. Like, that shit is hard.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear your story of what when you get your coach, like you coach the state champ. Like I want to hear that story. How you feel then? I bet you it's gonna be even more so. Like
10 times better. 10 times better.
yeah,
For sure.
I can't wait to hear that story.
I've gotten close as an assistant. I got to coach the finals. I got to coach the finals once, and it was actually with my cousin Kendall. So that was pretty awesome. But I did get to wear this.
You were more nervous than him.
Oh man, I was. It was an emotional roller coaster for sure. We didn't win the match, but and that's the thing, man. You make the state finals. That's your very last match of your high school career, and if you lose, that's the last match of your high school career, right?
Yeah.
So that one's gonna sting for a while. So
yeah,
sometimes, it's maybe better to get third, right? Because you win your last one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always wondered that. I always wondered that if it would be better to get second or to win third. So like it's because it gets worded like that. I lost, I got second, but I worked my way back up to third. Like I won third place.
Right.
So
yeah,
I've always wondered
I don't know,
how
man.
if it was better.
There's a lot of people that have done it. Thankfully, it wasn't me.
All right, guys. Well,
awesome.
We could sit here and talk all night probably, but Rick's got something else here.
Last question, closing question. I think this will be good.
I'll go all night.
I think this will
man.
be
I'll
good.
go all
I
night.
know. Hey, me too. I wrote a few other questions down, but I crossed them out because, well, like I said, you probably have stuff to do. Last question. What would be your advice for new coaches in any sport, not just wrestling, but in any sport? What is something that they should focus on, or something that you would change or maybe not change when you first started coaching?
Well, even to this day, I think patience, right? You got to have patience. You've got to understand that it's a process, and if you're going to be in it for the long run, like you said, coaching 7U softball, there's a process, right? My program has a process of how we develop that we you can't just all right, we're having practice today at 3:30. I'm gonna go in and wing it, because it's not. You got to have a structure, planned practice with some patience, because every kid, and every practice is going to be different. So when I say patience, I mean patience with the kids and patience with your process, because it might be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? Or once you get to competition, you got to reevaluate, mistakes that we're making, or things you're seeing that are commonalities over the course of. So all that, in my mind, is having some patience, and knowing that, man, I show up to practice every day. I don't teach in the school, so I don't know what, all I know is when I see their faces at 3:30, I don't know what they've been through during the day. I don't know what what their home life was like last night, or certain things like that. So you got to meet them head on where they're at, and have some patience with them, and understand that, okay, I know little Henry here might not have the best practice today because he had a rough day at school. So, but again, you still motivate him to get through the room and get through the practice, and that, and we try to preach, like, once you step in our wrestling room, whatever happened throughout the day is over. Right? This is you're in our room. and it's a new day, right? It's an hour and a half of focus on your sport, your craft, things you want to get better at, things you maybe need to sit down and talk about. So I feel like in my mind, all that tells me is that, you know, the biggest thing I can say is you have to be patient with the process and patient with the kid.
That's some good advice there. I feel like I'm now ready to take on 7U softball. Not only that, but the biggest challenge will be this spring when I have to teach my 4-year-old how not to kick everyone in the shins for soccer practice.
Yeah,
That's not the sport that we actually
Right.
have. There's another sport here with the ball that is the actual
It-
goal here. So,
Here's the other piece of advice I'll give you: get a whistle. Get a whistle.
never
Because
had
when
one.
you blow that whistle, man, they freeze and they're like, "Oh, what's up?" Like, I'll listen now. You know,
You know what? I'm getting a whistle. I'm getting a whistle.
that
I'm
was
gonna
a game
trust you.
changer.
I'm gonna
That
trust
shit
you
was
on
a
that.
game changer for me when I was coaching the youth. Man, I blew that whistle and it was like they thought shit was hitting the fan.
Hey, get the one. You just gotta twirl it so that way they know. You know, like
Yeah.
Oh shit,
Yep.
he's got the whistle.
Oh yeah.
today.
Oh, he's playing with his whistle. He's mad. Or just the different, the variations of the whistle blow. Oh, he blew
Yeah.
that thing. He blew that thing so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, no,
All
that's
right, boys.
good.
No, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
So
This
we could
was
definitely
good.
sit here all night and talk, right? So, we'll definitely have him back on the pod. We'll get some more insight,
Yeah.
in the life
Yeah,
of Nick.
Yeah, we'll see how.
Yeah. This is fun, man. I love
Yeah.
sitting and bullshitting and talking wrestling, whether it's high school wrestling, Iowa wrestling, international wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
we're gonna
need
talk a
one of
little
those.
Iowa wrestling, but
Yeah,
I guess
that'll
we.
be.
Yeah.
We
Well,
got-
I got
we
off
got
on some
deep-
I got off on some tangents there. So
No, hey, that was awesome. It was great. I think we were just doing that. Oh man,
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Nick.
Thanks again, Nick.
yeah, thanks guys.
Been fun, guys. Like and subscribe as always. Hometown Hawks podcast.
go Eagles!
Oh no, go Cowboys.
Fuck you! Fuck
First
you! I don't know why I'm
Cowboys.
talking to you.
First Cowboy.
I don't know why I'm talking to you today. Fuck you!